Hello everyone. Across Africa's largest economies, the headlines sound promising. GDP is rising and stock markets boom. Yet beneath these glossy numbers lies a troubling truth. Millions remain trapped in poverty, unemployment, and despair. Families struggle to afford decent meals, housing, and education, even as their nations boast of economic growth. Economic growth is an increase in a country's aggregate output, usually referred to as gross domestic product or GDP. Whereas economic development is about increased productivity, it promotes a multidimensional improvement in people's welfare and living standards. Lower poverty rates, better jobs, quality healthcare, quality education, and equal opportunity. Economic growth without development occurs when GDP numbers improve. But most citizens see little or no improvement in their lives and livelihoods. In this unfortunate but widespread scenario, impressive macroeconomic indicators coexist, with entrenched poverty, weak job creation, high inequality, and fragile public services. There's a sharp disconnect between the macroeconomic growth indicators and the welfare of citizens. This is the paradox of prosperity. Economic growth without development. Nowhere is this contradiction more evident than in Africa's 5 largest economies: South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, Algeria, and Morocco, countries where impressive aggregate wealth coexists with profound daily struggles for millions of people. Let's start with South Africa, the continent's most industrialized economy, which boasts sophisticated financial and infrastructural sectors. Yet it remains one of the world's most unequal societies. While its GDP per capita is relatively high, at over $6,000, the Gini coefficient, a measure of income inequality, is among the worst globally at 0.63. Post-apartheid economic growth has been largely jobless, with key sectors like mining and finance not generating sufficient employment for a growing young population. The official unemployment rate is catastrophically high at 32% in general, but rising to over 45% for the youth. Despite a robust stock exchange and multinational corporate presence, millions live in townships with inadequate services. Widespread protests over service delivery have become commonplace. Next, we look at Egypt, which has been hailed by the IMF for its bold macroeconomic reforms, including currency flotation and subsidy cuts. No doubt, the reforms have stabilized the economy and attracted foreign investment. GDP growth has been resilient, projected at around 4%. However, the reforms have come at a severe social cost. The Egyptian pound has lost 50% of its value, triggering a brutal inflation spike that peaked at over 35% in 2023. The price of basic staples like bread has skyrocketed, pushing an estimated 30% of the population below the poverty line. While macroeconomic indicators please international creditors, the economic development indicators, the daily struggles to afford food for a family, have sharply deteriorated for the ordinary Egyptian. Next, let's look at Nigeria, which also illustrates the paradox vividly. Nigeria is a very large economy, the continent's biggest by many measures, with booming digital and services sectors and rising GDP. Yet Nigeria has a very large population of poor people. Recent World Bank and official briefs highlight a high national poverty headcount. Economic reforms on subsidy removal and currency management have succeeded in stabilizing the exchange rate and the economy in general. Foreign reserves have also seen a growth of $13 billion in the last 2 years, to $47 billion at the end of 2025. But the economy still struggles to create quality jobs for millions entering the labor force each year. The National Bureau of Statistics' recent rebasing has raised Nigeria's GDP from $188 billion to $243 billion. But the GDP rebasing has not by itself eliminated high poverty rate and weak public services. Next, Algeria's economy is overwhelmingly dominated by oil and gas sector, which account for about 90% of total export revenues. Oil revenue funds a generous subsidy system for fuel, food, and housing, which has historically maintained social peace. However, the energy sector provides few jobs and crowds out other, more labor-intensive industries. With youth unemployment stubbornly high at over 21% and a private sector stunted by state dominance, the country faces a looming crisis. This oil dependence leaves Algeria vulnerable to fiscal shocks when oil and gas prices fall. Finally, we look at Morocco, which has been a model of relative political and economic stability with a steady GDP growth, driven by agriculture, tourism, automotive, and phosphates. Yet, this growth is geographically and socially uneven. While Casablanca and Tangier thrive with modern industrial zones, vast inequalities persist between urban and rural areas. Rural poverty rates are significantly higher. Widespread protests in the neglected Rif region in recent years highlighted the deep-seated feelings of marginalization and lack of economic opportunity, demonstrating that national growth figures can mask severe regional underdevelopment. The experiences of Africa's 5 largest economies underscore a critical lesson. Economic growth is a necessary, but not sufficient, condition for development. True economic development requires deliberate policies that promote economic diversification, invest in human capital, health and education, and ensure that the benefits of growth are broadly shared. Africa's story should not be one of endless potential and unfulfilled promise. Genuine development means more than glowing GDP reports. It means children in good schools, youths in decent jobs, mothers with quality healthcare, and families living with dignity. Until economic growth creates real opportunities for the many, not just profits for the few, Africa's progress will remain a mirage, shimmering over a desert of poverty. Africa's leaders must turn GDP numbers into nourishment, economic statistics into tangible solutions, and prosperity into people's welfare and daily reality. Only then will growth truly mean development, and the African dream will finally touch every home. May God bless Africa. Thanks for watching.